Welcome in Ember League to some Blaze League action tonight here in week 2. Unfortunately, week 2 because last week the Vanguard was not working during the match day, so it had to delay a week. But here we are finally for Fee How taking on Monkeys Inc. I'm Isaac. Joining me alongside on this broadcast tonight is Core, and for this one, Core, Monkeys, obviously very storied organization who have played in all sorts of leagues and are a very known factory. Meanwhile, I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name correct. I asked their contact how to pronounce it, so I'm guessing it's Fihao. How? Fihao? What are your thoughts on how to even pronounce their name? Because it's not a team backed by any org, so...
Your guess is as good as mine. Fihao? I mean, it looks very... Fihao, maybe? It looks very, like, Oriental in origin.
Oh, I could see that, especially the how. Who? How? Either way, moving on to these two teams, Monkeys Inc., for the most part, very similar to the Monkeys Maui team that had an incredible run last season in the Ember Blaze, our last split in the Ember Blaze League. For the most part, keeping the lineup very similar, with really the only exception being Fallen Warrior moving into support. They won with a 2-0 win last week over one of the Kitten Kingdom teams. Meanwhile, Fihao not having the same luck going in their first week, having going 0-2. And, well, they also had a lot of interesting drafts in that first week. I especially want to point out game 1, where they drafted Echo Jungle and Vexman, not exactly the most meta of champions in the current stage, but definitely one that they're willing to go for, especially when you look at the champions pools that they have available to them from the likes of LaBouffe and Mickey.
Already with the Ari Ezreal ban, both of them are really strong in this current meta. I see a lot of good Ezreals in the bot lane. I've seen a lot of good Aris in the mid lane. Ari in the proper hands can be a really scary opponent.
Especially on the Ezreal front, Wilm in their game 2 last week for the side of Fihao, definitely was a large reason why that game took as long as it did to close out. And unfortunately, they didn't quite close it out to be the victors and send it to a game 3, but definitely a standout player on that champion. And so, side of Fihao, they're going to lock in the Caitlyn to be able to get Wilm on a champion that he's familiar with. I'm not sure if we've lost Core, so moving on. The response from Monkeys is to be able to pick up the Jinx. ADC response, a little bit shorter range, but obviously lots of scaling, and will start to go off once you start getting those resets and get to that 3-item power spike. And of course, the Monkeys draft the Monkey Wukong locked in for Monkeys Inc.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize my cat hit the mute button when he was climbing on
the desk. Unfortunate.
I'm gonna have to lock him out of the room. Give me a
second. Good to have you back. Oh, well, okay, I'll pick up then.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. Reality happens. I'll fill in. Wukong, the monkey for the monkeys, and junglers the jungle meta for the last year or so has been defined by 80 bruisers, and Wukong maybe a little bit of a slower one, and so has kind of dropped down the pecking order a little bit from being one of the must picks to kind of the second tier underneath it, but still a very solid pick. And obviously name synergy with Monkeys picking up the monkey, and so Fihao going to be locking up the Lissandra and the Vi as their mid jungle duo. As a response, lots of CC and kill potential when the Vi comes around with that mixed damage profile. I'm going to assume that we'll wait for Core to be able to come back to finish on that one. But Hui for Monkeys Inc. is a Wheeze classic, maybe not as classic as the Mel that they like to go for, but still very much one in the wheelhouse of Wheeze. Played this champion quite a bit. I've definitely seen him hit a few severing bolts that felt illegal that they shouldn't have. So it'll be fun to see him on a champion that he's has some sort of familiarity with and has some heritage on, which means for both sides, we're looking at a jungle or top lane pick to be able to round that out their drafts. Jungle or and top lane picks to round out the drafts. Meanwhile, Monkeys are going to be banning away the Volibear. One of those flex picks between jungle and top, though admittedly, considering the champion pools of Feihao, very much more likely going to be a target on Hoikage, as plays a lot of this Volibear, and also primarily an ADC player. At least that's what their it is what their op.gg would suggest to be the case. So okay, take that off the board. Meanwhile, Rel going to be taken away by Monkeys as well. Nautilus and Ornn also off the board. Nautilus makes sense when you're into Fallen Warrior. Had an incredible pop-off performance on the Blitzcrank last week. He's a very big fan of these champions with the hooks, which, considering Monkeys are going blind, might look to pick up for themselves here. Tahm Kench actually going to be the option for Monkeys. I guess technically does have some flexibility between the support and top role, though more commonly seen in the support role. Tahm Kench top, definitely not nearly as popular as it once was, but still definitely an option. And it'd be interesting to see Hunter on a champ like the Tahm Kench, but
I don't know. Tahm Kench right now with.
Oh, welcome back.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
I was waiting for you
It was just I was waiting on you to. So you're like, okay, like
I'm
situation
just
dealt
here,
with.
Like I'm waiting for you to like. No, but Tahm Kench right now top lane is also a really strong pick with the Hail of Blades Heartsteel build going strong. I've seen a lot of Toms dominate with that, especially with the early damage that it provides.
Yeah, especially how easy it allows you to set up a stun for the tongue lash. And so Bard and Shin will be the lock-in for Feihao. Bard getting the range in case range advantage in case that is going support. And Shin, I would have to imagine, would be pretty good into the Tahm Kench with the ability to block auto attacks, and how pretty gated Tahm Kench, mentioned with the Hail of Blades, is around him being able to set up a tongue lash stun and well, our draft is gone. Monkeys Inc.'s final pick not quite showing up. We'll hopefully get word on what has happened from Raven. Oh shoot, we're already into game. Well, it turns out it was the Mordekaiser. Not even a chance to look at that, because straight into the action here in game one on the Rift. Perhaps a little bit of a disconnect on the timers of the spec delay and the draft going through. Raven is on the production side tonight, and it is one strength of Raven's broadcast is that does like recreating the drafts themselves, so we don't have to wait a whole 3+ minutes for the spec delay. But apparently this time a little bit of a hiccup and timing wasn't quite right, so we're straight into it. Hunter going to be on the Mordekaiser carry champion. That's Hunter not exactly allowed to play a lot of, at least the one time I was able to spoke to him, especially that Jace in particular, considering the top lane meta. But we'll be given the chance on here in game one.
I'm really interested to see how the Hui Lissandra matchup goes, just because Hui does have a lot of range and poke on the Lissandra. So seeing how she manages that and how she gets around that to give herself an advantage in lane is going to be really interesting to see play out.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's going to have to come down to the intervention from Hoikage in the jungle to be able to impact this lane, because there is a lot of lockdown and like burst potential between the Vi and the Lissandra together as unit, especially comparatively like early on to the Wukong. And I mean, Vi works best with champions that have easy, or mages with that relatively easy CC to follow up on. I mean, most notably the Ahri, but obviously that was banned away. But I mean, the Lissandra as a substitute, I think is obviously not as potent, but definitely fine.
Bot lane roaming up to help with the scuttle.
Yep, the clear from Hoikage not quite as fast. So as a result, who is available on the bottom half of the map is actually just getting out cleared in general. It'll be a double crab for the monkeys and Glada. Early advantage going their way. Be feeling pretty comfortable with that one. And it's a bit interesting to see Hoikage in the jungle, someone who is typically, as I said before, an ADC. And even though, from what I understand, Vi, not exactly the pinnacle of jungle clears, to be that far behind, something definitely feels a little bit off at not having the exact optimal timers locked down in my head, personally, which is my bad. But
As a Vi player myself, she has definitely fallen off from the jungle meta. She can still be
Goob
really
actually could be in
good.
trouble.
Ooh.
Lash going to hit the stun onto Goob. Not quite finding enough damage, and now Wilm with the range advantage of the fully stacked up lethal tempo. Exhaust will have to drop onto Caitlyn. Fallen Warrior going to drop down his E. It's a great cosmic binding from Goob, setting up the first blood for Wilm, and it's a very patient response out of the bot lane of Fid to win the 2v2. Or considering that, I think we may have lost core again.
Dive.
Yeah,
No,
it's
I'm
pretty easy. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I just assumed because
no, if I can't talk right now apparently.
Oh,
If I hear you popping, I'll just go quiet so I don't get talked over because I'm not really a loud person.
okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. First time casting together, it happens sometimes. The synergy isn't quite built up there just yet on the handing off. So we'll hopefully get there and just kind of get into the flow of things. As to be fair, Fit has done now up 2-0, though admittedly not quite being able to use that to garner themselves a huge gold lead just yet. With the likes of Wheeze out farming Mikey in the mid lane. Drake's up and available now, immediately started up by the monkeys. Goob would be pressured off to the side.
Jinx.
They do have knowledge now that the monkeys are taking the Drake. Hoikage, interesting usage of the Scryer's Bloom, not towards the Drake. So now they don't have any knowledge of the health bar of it with the pullback on the monkeys. They claim the Drake for themselves. Goob stuck between the Flame Troncers. Yeah, we'll use a magical journey, but that'll only put him in the Dragon Pit with nowhere to go. Grim Defier going to be giving a kill to him straight right on a platter, and then the monkey's up around 600 gold. So the monkeys going to take that win for themselves. Especially important that they picked it up as early as they did. There's still over a minute until the Void Grubs spawn. But here's what I was talking about earlier: the gank into the mid lane. Wheeze flashing back towards his own tower, but that goes straight into the range of Hoikage, setting up a very easy kill in the mid lane for Fid.
And as per usual, top lane's pretty much an island. Nothing of excitement's happening there.
Being said,
that being said, Vi might try to come in for a gank from behind.
Yeah, but Glada's also in the area, also on that front. Hunter, despite being a 1v1 on the counter pick, picking up the Mordekaiser, has been doing quite good for himself. Abyssal Voyage going to hit its way onto Wilm, but the Cosmic Binding response will find the stun onto Fallen Warrior, will save Wilm for the time being, but takes Caitlyn very low. Mega Death Rockets, not quite going to hit the mark. Wilm out of vision. Grimfire not quite getting the guess right, but Wheeze roaming to the bot lane will be spotted on a control ward. So Fit will just have to wait even longer under their own tower. Can't get out from their own tower, which is absolutely devastating for the Caitlyn.
In all honesty, with them not being able to get out of the tower, Caitlyn might just want to take a reset here after getting this wave to heal back up and get item components. It looks like they are going to take that reset.
Will allow them potentially to also maybe send Goob around the map, do Bard things. Bard gaming. I love Bard gaming.
It's so good.
K-Corp gave carry a Bard 2 nights ago at MSI. That was hilarious because why did you give carry a Bard?
That was their mistake.
But it was fun. It was fun to see Bard and I was on Goob. Roaming up to the mid lane, will not quite land the Cosmic Binding, but there's more than enough CC, not quite enough damage, and it's actually a really good use of Tempered Fate to deny the tower safety for Wheeze, claiming the kill to the side of Fizz, setting themselves up 4-1 in terms of kills, and bring them back level in gold. But Hunter going to send LaBouffe to the Death Realm, does have just barely the 8 of the tower obliterate. Second one going to be isolated onto LaBouffe, not quite enough to secure the kill. So LaBouffe going to have to lick his wounds, teleport back to lane, and be all right in the end. But it does give Monkeys Inc. a teleport advantage for Hunter. We gotta fight brewing in the bot lane. Abyssal Dive going to find its way onto Wilm, who immediately flashes away with a 90 caliber net as well. Wahlberg going to come in, but a good use of the Tom Kinch Devour to be able to get Grim to fire away, and the Super Mega Death Rocket gets Grim excited, but not without trading a kill back over to Wilm, finding the execute onto Glado. Weeze now roaming down from the mid lane. Will continue to press forward, did walk over a ward, so they know that this way is here. Ult for the way still available, holding onto it. Not, I was going to say as long as possible, but just in general, not going to release the Spiraling Despair. And so the bot lane of Fig get out alive. Drake up and available, and Monkeys claim that first one. So Glada on the top half of the map could potentially give Fit a window to be able to pick it up for themselves, especially with the roam bot lane from Wheeze giving an earlier push to Mikey in the mid lane, going to secure the priority needed for Fit to be able to claim the Drake uncontested and prevent the stacking of the Drakes for the Monkeys. And actually, Fallen Warrior will show himself. Grim to fire at range. Fallen Warrior push a little bit too far forward, just going to flash away preemptively, not going to risk his health bar getting anywhere close to being lethal. Goob, though, taken quite low. Grim to fire going to hold on to the Super Mega Death Rocket for now. Probably not enough to be able to secure the kill onto the support of Fit. Wow, straight to the mid lane. No!
On the Wheeze. That Vi Lissandra CC chain coming in clutch right there to pick off the Hui.
Yeah, Glacial Tomb is so hard to escape. It's so easy to set up for Hoikage to be able to continue repeatedly punish the mid lane. Wheeze now 0-3. So not having the best of time there, but does look like Glada may have been caught out. Didn't quite low. Second cast of the Cyclone will be enough to find the kill onto Goob. Call an ambulance, but not for me. Glada on the invade. Going to get the Monkeys yet another kill.
That is one of the things that I have found that people don't respect as much as a Bard player is watching for those invades and not getting caught if you do see an invade happening. Which is very easy to do on the Bard. Now, he does have a lot of escapability. Excuse me. He does have a lot of escapability if he does get caught, but Monkeys has a lot of vision on the spot side.
And the responses to get through. Mikey going to go golden. Glacial Team Muse on himself, and the Stand United brings LaBouffe down. Not quite going to find the taunt onto Grim to fire, but there's enough damage onto Fallen Warrior to pick up a kill nonetheless. However, with all that committed to the bot lane, it does allow Hunter more alone time up in the top lane to be able to continue to guard himself an advantage. And Hoikage caught trying to find a play onto the Scuttle Crab. No ult available for Glada just yet. Hoikage going to get over wall, but pulled back by Hunter. And with nowhere to go, the hope was the blast cone to be able to hop away, but not quite close enough to be able to escape. Once again, the Monkeys will find an opportunistic play onto Hoikage, finding their second death of the game. Pull back now onto LaBouffe. And in that play, all the while, it gave the kill over to Hunter, who is on top of their individual CS lead, now having an extra kill on 1.4k gold up with the Rylai's Crystal Scepter in the inventory. Such a good item for the
Move going in on the Mordekaiser. Gonna get some poke damage off, but he is gonna heal that back up. Mordekaiser things.
Yep, just press W and not
Win.
care. Yeah. And just ignore any damage that came your way. And the fun ability. To be able to have. But yeah, no, Hunter being left alone in this top lane has had LaBouffe's number this whole entire game so far, even if the focus up to the top half of the map hasn't quite been there. And so with this permanent advantage in the top lane, will be a comfortable Rift Herald to the side of the Monkeys. Kage going to find the engage on the Fallen Warrior, but not quite a follow-up from the rest of Feh. A bit disjointed. Luckily, response from Monkeys not quite fast enough to be able to collapse onto the Vi. Won't be punished for that deep move, but still a little concerning nonetheless.
Looking at the clear difference between the two junglers is interesting too, just kind of showcasing how much Vi has fallen in the ways of her jungle clear. What most people don't realize, to help the jungle clear, you want to either max the W or the E first and not the Q, as it provides more damage to the creeps rather than just maxing the Q for the lane ganks.
Yeah, the shorter cooldown on the Vault Breaker does feel nice. As you mentioned, the clear not going to be as great, but Drake started up, spawned up. Good use of the Devourer from Fallen Warrior to be able to get Grim to fire out of trouble. Now Glada goes back in, and the teleport from Hunter arrives, makes it disadvantage for Finn. LaBouffe on the Stand United finally shows up, but it's too little, too late. Hunter picks up his second kill of the game, and the rest of the Monkeys push Finn out of the jungle, giving them no hope to be able to claim this third Drake of the game. Oh, Grim Fire going to get excited on the tower kill, trying to find a way for it onto Will. Flash from Fallen Warrior on the Tongue Lash, hits the mark, secures it for the Monkeys, but the smite down and from Glada, able to claim the Drake to the side of Monkeys. Got a bit scary though. Hoikage doing their best to steal the Drake away. Does force the flash out of Glada, however. His fight isn't quite done yet. Flame Chompers going to activate just half a second too low. Not going to catch Hoikage, so the Vi able to sneak on out of there. So with this Monkeys picking up their second Drake of the game does get them all that much closer to the soul point, and even though next Drake is not quite the soul point Drake for the Monkeys, it's always the one before soul point that has some level of importance to it, as when a team is on soul point, it allows them to generate so much more pressure, especially when it's the Hex Tech soul they can claim for themselves. That's just so universally strong. That's will require the attention of Fi, which could be a bit troublesome for them, especially as next Drake, the Baron spawns just under a minute. Be a perfect window if they get caught on Fi for Monkeys to be able to get the Baron for themselves. Make it very easy for them to pick up that third and important Drake for them. So it has to play fairly carefully for the time being, as to not throw away the game on a simple blunder, which they might do just here. Hoikage caught in the river. It's the natural habitat of Fib, but not
that failed
exactly going to be
breaker.
fine. Yeah, over the wall, not quite going to hit the mark. Tempered Fate from Goob, not going to hit anything. Forces the flash over the wall from Hoikage. Will be able to escape. Of course, as I say that, they're on the wrong side of the map. And Grim
there's the Mega Death
Fire
Rocket.
from 10 screens away, able to secure the kill. It's a good use of the Abyssal Dive. It's not quite much of a follow-up. Mickey not going to choose to continue their advance. Grim Defier is a bit too far. The Devour going to save Grim Defier, and the Spiraling Despair hits the mark onto Wilm, pushing forward. Glatter on the flank claims Mickey. It's a perfect time to find a fight for the Monkeys. Baron's up and available. They're going to take the mid tier 2. They're going to get the Baron as well. They're going to blow this game right open. 6.3k gold lead on a 5+k gold swing in 1 minute. The Monkeys go from looking advantage to all but, well, victors here in game 1.
Monkeys secure the Baron. Going to do a reset after that. Going to catch Hokage out here. Cyclone goes out. Stand United does go out on Hokage. But I still think Hokage is going to fall. Looks like Booth may fall with him. Goop does seem to get the stun off to get him out. Don't know if it'll be enough. It was not, in fact, not enough.
Yeah, it's a play from Fi that I could see what they're doing. Obviously, there is a small window for them to be able to collapse onto the recalling members of the Monkeys. And especially so recently after killing the Baron with the resistance shreds that the Baron does provide, there was a chance for Fi to be able to find a team wipe. And to be fair to them, if they did have the time to get there like 2 seconds sooner while the focus from the Monkeys was still on the Baron, it could have been an absolutely incredible play for them that got back to the game. But Mickey,
Goob is caught out by the Hui ult there. Looks like things are pretty much heavily on Monkey's side.
A triple kill for Wheeze on another attempted play from Fih. I mean, to be fair, they saw Grim Defier isolated, and when you see an ADC in a side lane when you're down over 6k gold, and the enemy team's about to go on to Soul Point, you gotta try to make the play. If they do, you know, execute that, they execute on it, they, you know, they get such a key member from the side of Monkeys off the table right as the Drake is spawning, and so no Baron on the ADC as well. Would have been absolutely massive for Fih. They come up just short, and so unfortunately it goes from bad to worse for the side of Fihao. And find themselves with their backs against the wall even more so. But I mean, given the circumstances, that is the right play to make, or at least try to make. So you can't necessarily fault them on that much. It's just a little bit too much of a wallet gap in favor of the Monkeys. And well, luckily the Baron just expired, so they will be given some respite. It really won't be all that much. Tempered Fate, not going to hit the mark, but just continue forward by Fih. Onward, good devour onto Wheeze, try to get him to safety, give him the move speed, but a good use of the Vault Breaker finds a shutdown going into the hands of Hoikage. Would have much preferred that sitting into the hands of Wilm, but it is a sign of life for Fih.
Definitely looks like Fih is not going to go out without a fight, but from an overarching viewpoint, it does look like things are still pretty heavily in Monkey's favor. They are up by almost 10k gold, 7k.
Yeah, it's definitely...
Math is not my strong suit.
Well, luckily, we've got Raven producing for us tonight. He's got a ton of customized tools that he's made for the viewing experience. Atop the screen, right under the gold on Monkeys, plus 9k. So we don't get that on every single image.
I'm just blind. That's on me.
Yeah, that's it's honestly one of the great things about having Raven on a broadcast. Like when you've done enough of amateur casting, like long enough, you start like noticing how different producers do different things. Yeah, and every single producer has their own little identity. Before it gets to that, Hunter going to send LaBouffe to the Death Realm to make this a 1v1, but Goob and Mickey are waiting for him once he escapes and sent back out, shut down. Eventually, it finally goes into the hands of Mickey, but it buys so much time for Grim Defier to get excited, but will get snared up. Good use from the Devourer on Fallen Word to be able to save his ADC, and now Glada on the wings will find his way onto Mickey to clean it up for the Monkeys. Fih once again try to make a play on the side lane, but it's just too little too late. And the Monkeys come out victors once again. Ace into the hands of the literal Monkeys, only losing Hunter in the process. All the while, that was a 5v4. Wee's in the bot lane just doing his own thing. It's devastating for Fih.
Wee's just playing Farming Simulator in the bot lane.
Heck yeah, that's an esport.
Going to take a second. Esport, Farming Simulator.
Yeah, you've seen wait, have you seen the there is an esports scene for Farming Sim? Well, that's a little bit off topic.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. That's my bad. Going a little too far away, especially with the Monkeys pushing in, opening up the base fully. Grim Defier going to have the window of excitement on the kill from the inhibitor. Monkeys aren't going to press their luck on it though. Glada, having already recalled, would have been numbers disadvantage for them, and so Fit going to press forward this time onto Hunter, though Wheeze and Glada do way too much damage. Tempered Fate only going to find Grim Defier. It's going to be taunted up, but way too far forward from LeBouf. Hunter all the while wailing away on the back line of Fit. Grim Defier going to pick up another kill in that fight. 8, 3, and 5 on the Jinx. Then the Monkeys up 15k gold. It's all but a formality to close out this game 1 in favor of Monkeys Inc.
One thing that I noticed throughout this game a lot is Vi tended to very much misplace herself and get caught out of position, trying to make plays that shouldn't have been attempted in the first place, in my unofficial opinion. But overall, the Monkeys just seemed a lot more coordinated than Fih.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit to be expected. Monkeys Inc. have, for the most part, not only being a part of the literal Monkeys org, being backed by an Oregon, as far as I'm aware, how aren't. I mean, this is a group of players that have played together for quite a while, and so have that extra bit of synergy. So I guess it really shouldn't be a surprise that the Monkeys are just much more together in this series. Especially how early on into the Ember Blaze League split we are, and clearly showing it there is at the end over 15k gold advantage to the Monkeys, where there were a few hiccups for them in the early game where it looked like for a second How might have been able to defy our expectations going into this game. You see that tiny little peak for the side of Fihao at around 4.5 minutes. Or maybe we thought for a second they're up 4 kills to 1 that they could have surprised us all, but it's just a little bit too much for them to handle, at least in game 1. Though it is best of 3. We'll have to see how Fihao change things up. How they do differently to be able to shift things up in game 2. But until then, we're going to send to a break. We're going to get ready for that. When we come back, we'll start up with the draft. Don't go anywhere. And we are back for game 2 here in the Ember Blaze League between Fi Hao and Fi. I don't know. Now I'm saying Fi Hao. Fi.
That's
And,
my bad.
You know, sometimes I accept the influence of other people way too easily. But either way, they are up against Monkeys Inc. And after that game 1, the Fi got their
fish.
backs up against it. I mean, well, it's clearly says Fi, but at least I think that's how the H is at the end of like you. I don't know, because I see it online where they like people like replace the last letter with like just an H. I don't actually know how that's supposed to be pronounced, but
You know, I almost want to say it's like fish without the S. I mean, because their logo clearly has a fish in it.
yeah, it's a fish. Yeah, this is
So
true.
I'm guessing it's gonna be fi because it's just a fish without the H.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
either
you know it's how without the SE.
yeah. And so speaking of Fi, they have opted to swap to the red side here in game 2. The Monkeys' first pick. They're going to want to try to use that counter pick. That's Hunter definitely utilized on the Mordekaiser really to its fullest extent there in game 1. They want to do that for himself as Yasuo. Going to be locked in Diana Yasuo. Okay, we're starting off incredibly. Okay, I mean, perfect. Love that. Incredible. 1-2 from Fi.
Definitely a lot of synergy between those two. I can see the ganks mid lane for the Yasuo, especially once they hit level 6, really popping off and going towards the Yasuo's favor if he can capitalize off the Diana ult.
Yeah, it's such an easy setup for the Yasuo for the last breath. Being said, Viego going to be the lock in for the side of Monkeys Inc. And they will give them a nice mid jungle duo for themselves. Going to follow that up with the Mel, one that Wheeze plays a lot of, despite how much they've kind of fallen off, or Mel has kind of fallen off in terms of priority after she's been gutted over and over again, and to be fair, understandably so. And but does
in the
mean
right
that
hands, she can still be a pretty strong opponent to go against, especially with that execute on her passive.
yeah, and especially as it stacks up for the Golden Eclipse. Get going long enough, could still do a surprising amount of damage. I also have to expect pre-level 6, especially for Wheeze being so familiar on their champion. That's if they can space out the Yasuo quite a bit, it could be proved. I mean, okay, we're locking Master. Wait, we're locking in Master. Wait, Master. Wait.
So where's the Is that a Diana
It's Yasuo
top?
top. No, it's Yasuo
Oh, is it
top.
Yasuo top?
LeBouf plays Yasuo. I mean, that makes sense because LeBouf is the Yasuo player, but I was okay. All right, let's go.
You know what? We'll see how this goes.
I mean, they're playing comfort on Fi, and I mean, I to be fair, I guess they try. It makes sense considering in game 1 they tried drafting a normal composition that you would expect to see in organized play. It really didn't work out for them. So you just go comfort. I mean,
You just go comfort pick. Sometimes that's the best avenue to take when all else fails.
It gives them a very odd composition. I mean, not the worst ever. I think Mastery might be a little bit out of place, but I mean, you get a good Nico Pop Blossom is easy setup for the Yasuo. The Diana has really good setup for the Yasuo.
Playing around the Yasuo a lot here with their picks. With the Nico Diana ult, or the Nico E going and snaring to set up for the Yasuo W. Ziggs.
The Ziggs satchel knock up to set up the Yasuo.
Yeah, they're so playing around that Yasuo.
Oh my gosh, that's going to go into the hands of LeBouf, given everything you could possibly want from the Yasuo. Master Yi is really the only one that kind of looks a little bit out of place, I think, at that point, in terms of what Holy Kage plays. Yeah, I mean, it is comfort as we were saying. This is what they're going on. It says Hoikage's most played champion in solo queue up until now in the year. So going completely comfort. But I mean, if we're setting completely up for the Yasuo, I mean, like, why not drop us a Nunu? Why not drop us a, I don't know. No, he's. I mean, at this point, if you're going full
I
comfort,
would
you might
say
as well
the Vi
fully
again,
commit.
but they've already played the Vi.
It's already been used, unfortunately.
And a Mumu would also be really good for the Yasuo. Lock him down so Yasuo can set up his NATO. I'm trying to think of what other junglers would
Trying to
have
think of
knockups.
knockups mainly. Yeah. I mean Nunu, but and then like the Vi's already got Wukong as well. But either way, it sounds like we're ready to go on to the Rift. We haven't talked a lot about the side of Feh, considering that their draft is completely unconventional and surprising, which is the understatement of the century. But on the side of Feh, they've picked up the Taric, which, assuming that they can survive the burst of Finn, which they do have a lot of, they can survive that by enough time for the Cosmic Radiance to drop, to get everyone on Monkey's Invincible. They could be feeling quite nice if they can, in fact, get through that first initial burst from Finn.
Taric already going in on the bot lane. Just some early harass, nothing huge.
I guess it's important to know. It's a bit interesting to see both junglers starting on the bottom half of the map, going to be clearing bot to top. Not exactly the most common route that we see anymore, but considering how volatile this top lane is, both top laners opting for the exhaust, and knowing that each other has a decent amount of burst, not only from them, but also with their junglers. It is not conventional, though the reasoning is very much understandable. But I mean, I don't think you could have asked for much more between like LeBouf on their comfort champion and then Hunter on a carry. But before we get to that, Grim Defier going to be taken quite low from Wilm. Early pressure from the Nico Ziggs. Going to be doing quite a bit. And speaking of the exhaust, going to immediately be dropped onto Hunter as soon as Galata shows his face. Oh, no flash as well from the Yasuo. LeBouf and have a nice target on his back for future ganks.
Glada going in for the invade.
The steal successful from Glada. Gets the stun on Hoikage, who's going to flash away. Glada follows up. Blade of the Rune King going to hit the mark. Goes back in with the Q. First blood goes over to the monkeys. And now Mickey, with nowhere to go, will have to flash away. Is able to escape, but it's disaster for the Feh.
That was such an interesting play. I don't know that. I'm just incredulous. Why did he go back in?
The assumption I can only think is that Hoikage had consigned himself to his fate and was hoping that the follow-up, with Mickey arriving, but unfortunately not quite enough from Feh. So early advantage to the side of the monkeys once again. Especially now with LeBouf, no flash, and in this disadvantaged position. Glad is just going to be coming back top. Master Yi having lost his red buff. It feels awful for the side of Feh.
And Viego is such an oppressive enemy jungler if he gets snowballed. It especially if he can start out clearing you. If he starts getting those successful invades off, he can just become oppressive really fast.
Yeah, the snowball potential of Glada, or of Viego, which is in the hands of Glada, it gets out of hand very quickly. And when you pick up an early kill like this, Goob going to arrive in the top lane, though, disguising themselves as a minion, will force the exhaust out of Hunter. So at least for the boof, the summoner spells will be evened up in the 1v1. Does leave Wilm exposed in the bot lane, though. Fallen Word going to press forward. Chunk. Wilm down to half HP. Hoikage showing up in the bot lane, but just a little bit too late to truly turn that fight around into anything to make that gank worthwhile. Shows his face in the bot lane with all that extra pressure from the 2v1. We'll try to find a bit more. Flash forward from Goob, gets the snare onto Grim Defier. Exhaust immediately going to be dropped onto Hoikage. Can't even get an Alpha Strike onto Grim Defier. And so they just back away like their runes. Flash forward onto Dazzle, finds the sun onto Hoikage. Glada going to be set up perfectly by his support, making it 2-0 to the Monkeys right as the Drake spawns. It's going perfectly for the literal Monkeys. Glada not quite going to start up the Drake and try to push their luck any further into a Ziggs, but still, it's everything else that what you could have possibly hoped for Monkeys Inc.
Diana going in on Whis here. Is she gonna win the trade? She does. Whis does go down.
Yep, the all-in potential of the Diana, a lot more once you can get into range. Using that successfully will be a...
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Especially with Diana's kit, the only thing that Mel can really reflect is the Q, but you can't really follow up on it like Diana can if Diana hits the Q. So it just seems like there's nothing, once Diana gets on top of the Mel, there's not much the Mel can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, she has a snare, but that's about it. And when you're that low, it doesn't quite matter all too much. And so Mickey, getting up the solo kill, will give themselves a small advantage. Though, admittedly, going towards the Dusk and Dawn, obviously at the start of the year, at the start of the season, it was completely oppressive for Diana and was pick or ban for about a couple of weeks before Dusk and Dawn was had the damage nerfed away from it. Though it still synergizes decently with Diana, doesn't quite give her all the stats that she wants, and doesn't necessarily make her as explosive as she once was.
It still does. I do like if you go Dusk and Dawn into a Riftmaker. It provides a lot of Omni Vamp and healing for her, giving her the sustain she needs for those longer fights if she's going more of a bruiser build and not a burst assassin build.
I think would have been suggested by the rune choice, but considering that Mickey has gone for the electrocute, I would assume that his playstyle of the Diana is very much more so the assassin sort of focus, as opposed to a bruiser style that you can get out of Diana. Admittedly, it's not unheard of, but I think you'd probably see the
burst assassin right now.
That's true. It's also fair. It's just more so like what one would suggest with the style of runes, and I guess we could expect to see a bit more of that. And considering that Monkeys have gone for the Taric and how much Fib want to find the fight early on to be able to, speaking of, hold on, Glada going to be caught out by LaBouffe. Oikage going to get the Alpha Strike for it onto Glada. LeBouf going to claim that kill, finds the Q3 onto Hunter. The exhaust will drop onto LeBouf, but when there's 4 enemy team members around you, they're not going to be saved. And now Highlander pots by Oikage. Wheeze on the Mela has nowhere to run. The snare does drop onto the Master Yi, but Wheeze on the wrong side of the map. Ignite drop from Mickey, eventually going to find a way to dash, and does. And the Golden Eclipse not even going to be able to be used by Wheeze. Can't even trade it back. And so Feh find a huge fight for themselves. When he's the Pop Blossom, finds this knock up onto 2. Cosmic Radiance response drops. A little bit disjointed from Wilm and Goob. They definitely had kill potential. No, not quite going to be able to utilize it. Still, Fallen Warrior and Grindifier are very low, and with the range advantage the spot lane has, will force a suboptimal recall. Oikage in trouble. Grand Starfall used by Hunter to the wrong side of the map. Smite comes down. Void Grub's picked up by the side of Fizz. They will claim the final one at the very least. They're sticking around a bit. Both teams kind of poking and prodding, trying to find a way in. Mel will give Monkeys the range needed. Going to be tagged by Mickey. Going for from Mickey. Going to get the knock up onto 2. Perfectly executed from the Diana. They get too close on the side of Monkeys. Wheeze walks a hair too far forward, sets it up perfectly for Finn. They find themselves 2.3k gold up. Going forward, finds another Q3.
Or the Pantheon, I can't speak.
And we'll probably continue to do so. Hunter, so dangerously low, does have access to the empowered Aegis. But with the throw of the spear, does kind of put Hunter in a bit of trouble. LeBouf kind of holding on as long as possible. Glada now arriving. The stun drops onto the Yasuo. W stun from Glada sets it up perfectly. Heartbreaker. Still going to be held on by Glada forever. Finally shut down, claimed by Glada. Gets access to the Yasuo. Now Goob in a bit of trouble. Oikage arriving with such low health bars. Takes Oikage out of the Alpha Strike to claim the kill for themselves. Goob, I mean, usually I like to say kill secure as the meme, but I think that was a steal. The Alpha Strike would have had. Yeah, the Alpha Strike had more than enough damage to be able to give it over to Oikage, who would have loved to have the extra gold for himself. Another play to the bot lane from the side of Fit, trying to find their way onto Grindifier, especially as the Drake spawning. And the 2.5k gold advantage with the first Drake in their hands. It could be troublesome for the Monkeys if they give this over. Glada waiting in the wings. Dazzle only going to find the stun onto Mickey, who flashes away immediately. Mom called, gets Mickey a little bit lower. Drake claimed by Feh. So now they turn their attention to the bot lane as Fallen Warrior is taking dangerously low. Will shield himself, and Oikage caught out on the flank trying to find a way in. Wheeze is going to be the one to secure it.
Oikage just not being able to find a way in with that flank, getting himself caught.
You know, just wasn't even, at least as far as I'm aware, wasn't really on vision. But obviously, when the global message comes through that the Drake has been slain, it does kind of reveal your location. And considering, considering that Fib was not backing off, it gave Monkeys the information they needed that there was a potential play being made on the flank. Good use of the intuition. Wheeze, though, jumped out a little bit more by Mickey, who so far 4-0-2 on the Diana. It will be a thorn in the side of the monkeys, the main source of pressure that Fih can use.
Is that a Nico?
That is a Nico. No, that is a Nico. Minions do not leave the lane like that. Glada pressing forward will have to flash away from the Pop Blossom of Goob. Looks to go back in, won't quite find the stun. It's bringing the attention of Wheeze and Hoikage to the top half of the map. Will now, however, going to be chunked out even lower, having seen the Nico in the top side once again. Ult used by Mickey, and just there's so much damage available to Mickey. 5-0-2 now on the Diana. Wheeze not respecting the burst potential from Mickey at all.
It was an interesting minion play by Goob, needing to have used the Pop Blossom to try and follow up with it, but I question the thought process behind using the minion to try and flank like that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you not. Oh well, shoot, Wilm already removed from the map with a quick view down to the bottom lane. Very opportunistic play from the side of the monkeys, getting the second kill of the game over to Grim Defier on the Smolder, who's scaling up. Going back to the Nico play on the minion, when you're in the jungle like that, it allows you to more Glada finds out Hoikage, who will use the Alpha Strike to dodge out the stun of the Viego. Now will give himself a heal, gets himself the damage resistance, and all the while LaBouffe going to wail away on Wheeze. 2 more kills go the way of Fih. Also going to be Trade Hunter, staging dangerously low, but still under the safety of his own tower. Dashboard from LaBouffe will have the wave to be able to get him out of range of the tower, but we turn our attention to the bot lane because Mickey going to try to find a way in. Cosmic Radiance going to drop and keep Grim Defier alive, as well as Fallen Warrior. The ult from Mickey already used. Glada now showing up, will find the stun, gets the first kill, gets the reset, will use the satchel charge to be able to knock Hoikage away. Double kill for Glada. They do finally get the kill onto the Viego. Now Hoikage stunned up perfectly with the dazzle. Fallen Warrior playing that out perfectly, but does get a bit too close to Mickey. Kicks up the double kill for the Diana. Consigns himself to his fate. Tries to trade it back onto Grim Defier. Wheeze will pick up the shutdown onto Mickey. And so in the end, a 3-for-2 trade going the way of Monkeys Inc. Wilm going to be targeted away. It's a good use of the rebuttal to get the snare back down onto Goob, but Hoikage also arriving Heartbreaker to try to close the gap that is needed. Glada going to get the kill onto Goob. It's a good use of the Alpha Strike to dodge out the Tangle Barbs from Glada. Not enough damage going to be showing up from the rest of Fih. Mickey spotted out on the roam down. Fallen Warrior pressing forward, trying to find a few straggling members isolated on Fih. Won't quite find anybody in the tribe rush. But importantly, it does push Hoikage out into his own jungle, does give access to the river for the monkeys. It is important that they pick up this next Drake, as it would be soul point to the side of the monkey starting up the Drake. Hoikage very much cognizant that it is going down. The response from Fit is to just give it up. They leave LeBouf in the top lane. They'll concede the Drake over and they'll wait to fight it another day.
It is only Monkey's first Drake. And with, even though it would have been soul point 4 Fit, it's not a bad thing to just concede and give.
Especially when you have LeBouf left alone up top, 3-1 and 4 on the Yasuo, allowing to farm up. While Hunter has to commit a decent amount of time to the bot lane. Does give LeBouf that much extra power. Going to be picking up the Phantom Dancer on recall as well. Giving him the crit available. Mickey going to drop the ult onto Wheeze. Not quite going to push further for the kill, but the Ignites will tick over. Get yet another solo kill over to Wheeze. 8-1 and 2 on the Diana so far this game. Absolutely flawless so far from Mickey.
The almost 3k goal lead on the side of Fit. Looks like they are definitely trying to bring it back after last game, maybe pushing this into a game 3.
And with how much damage he grabbed for themselves, they have a very quick Baron take. One that the monkeys are not wise to at all. Glado on the opposite side of the map easily secures it for what are we still doing here? Grim the Fire in trouble. Smart out. The Cosmic Radiance not going to come down in time. Mickey gets the kill onto Grim the Fire. Will be traded back from Hunter onto LeBouf, but the damage is done. Glado too far forward. Double killed over to Hoikage, and it's a routing from Fih. Monkeys make a bad play worse. 4-for-1 going into the way of Fih, and I
don't understand why they tried to go in after Baron was already taken. Maybe they thought that monkeys, or maybe they thought that they would have been lower from taking the Baron, but there was really, after Baron is taken, there's really never a reason to go in.
Especially when the team isn't there. Like, the reasoning behind it could be that the health bars are lower and that the Baron does remove resistances from the team that is damaged by it, or from the champs that are damaged by it. And so there is an angle that if it gets taken under your nose, but you're still collapsing in on it, that there is a fight to be had. But it was only Grim to Fire and Fallen Warrior for the literal monkeys. And at that point, especially when you're Grim, he kept walking forward, and even after the alert got popped up that the Baron was gone, and I don't know. I mean, Grim to Fire up until this point so far the series has been pretty faultless for the most part, but that was a massive blunder from him. We'll try to rectify the errors with the play onto Wilm. We'll use a Sacral Charge to escape. Goob also going to be spotted out. Flash forward. Heartbreaker drop to find the stun onto Wilm with the Dazzle. Glad are going to pick up their 7th kill of the game, but now Hunter and LeBouf in the 1v1. LeBouf leveraging that advantage that he got earlier to be left alone in the top lane to find a solo kill onto Hunter. Drawing even more attention from the side of the monkeys. They will have to eventually show up in the bottom lane with that top lane tier 3 exposed. And so Fih now find themselves up with a 5k gold lead and Baron in their hands. At this point, it is their game to lose.
We could still see them make a. I have seen teams make bad plays that do cost them games. So you are right. It is their game to lose.
Oh
but
my
it does
goodness!
Look, oh
The
my God,
burst!
that damage!
The burst damage from Hoikage completely eliminates Glada. Mega Infernal Bomb going to set up a double kill for the Master Yi. Mickey will be the one to claim the kill onto Fallen Warrior. But Hoikage's damage, absolutely insane. Mickey goes for it, finds a knock up onto 2. Pop Blossom going to get the sun onto Hunter, and it's a clean ace to Fair with the push in the mid lane as they look to take game 2. And Fid, I mean, Mickey especially, 11-1-6 on the Diana. I mean, an absolutely pop-off game from Fihao in general. But, I mean, Mickey on the Diana. The very moment, around 6-ish minutes that they found the solo kill onto Wheeze, they did not look back at all in this game. Took it by the hands and ran with it. It's an absolute heist from Fihao, especially, I mean, around that Baron as well. But, I mean, yeah, a completely different look from Fih this time around, given that they were able to get basically across the board, every single champion that they are comfortable on. I mean, they got for themselves, and so, I mean, it definitely looked like it.
Yeah, and I do agree. Um, they really did play around that Yasuo a lot too. While though the Diana was the one to mainly carry the show on her back, but the synergies of the team of the draft from Fih was
Yeah,
really
they
well
were.
thought out.
Yeah, it was definitely looked a lot more comfortable for them, a lot more familiar. And so they will send us to a game 3. They won't have access to all their favorite champions going into game 3, as this is a fearless series. But we'll have to see if they can work the same magic on perhaps something that they are less familiar on, which we will be able to bring to you after the short break. So we are back for the final time tonight between Fiao and Monkeys Inc. here in the Ember Blaze League. This time around, they are going to actually. I heard they swapped sides, but it's not what the graphics are suggesting. So they're weird. Moving. Anyway, so we'll see how that plays out. We'll get confirmation on that front on who is on what side in for the time being, but we are into the draft, and considering what the fearless bands are, it does look like they are in fact on blue side for the final game tonight.
They're really not wanting to see that Jace go through.
I mean,
And
yeah,
Monkey's really not wanting to see the Ari go through.
Yeah, and then I'm going to imagine, Renekton also taken off the board, and then Ezreal banned. We saw that every single time so far, and it is, in fact, Wilm's most played champion, alongside Mickey's being the Ari. So that's also taken off the board, and I'm struggling to remember what the first 3 rounds of bans have been. Wait, no, I remember. Well, Ashe. Okay, well, then give me a moment to be able to try to internalize and remember what it was. But in fact, Ashe going to be taken away. So no Ashe Seraphine on the board this time around is a bit important, as Mel's not available. As Mel does typically pretty good into the Seraphine. Being able to rebuttal back the Encore is always dangerous. But now with that not available, it could have potentially left that open from Fi. But they're not going to look for it. Mesa will be the first lock in for Fi. It is a bit not quite what we've seen from them before. They did play it last week in their game 1. I honestly didn't exactly look all that great from them. Obviously, it does have the flexibility to go jungle or top, but neither LeBouf nor Hoikage really plays this champion. And considering how good Fi looked on their comfort picks last time around, I'm honestly a bit surprised they didn't go for something like the Yone for LeBouf or even the Volibear, since it's up and available. Instead, they go for something a bit more meta. Though in game 1, they went for meta, and to be fair, it really didn't look that great from them.
I always like to say that while meta is good and there's a reason that it's the meta, there are some times where your comfort picks are just better because you know the champion inside and out, you know their matchups, and you know how to play them. So sometimes going meta isn't necessarily the best bet.
So Fi going to follow up that with the Rel. Again, not exactly the most meta, though Goob does play a lot of it. So continuing back to kind of more towards the comfort territory, but then the Xayah for Fi. Really early on. Obviously, you can get the recall from the feathers with the CC that Rel has relatively easily, but still a very early call for the Xayah. Well, Monkeys Inc. They're going to go for the Thresh alongside the Unara. Anytime you have one of those hyper carries in hand, Thresh really helps out a lot, being able to get them to safety with the Lantern, as well as Unara's general mobility that she has once she gets access to her ultimate to be able to transcend oneself, gets a dash. And so this Unara will, or should, be really comfortable in this game, and at no point should really ever feel truly threatened about getting caught out without Fi committing so much that it might not matter in the end.
Now, I will say, that the potential reasoning for picking the Zaya so early is because they did see the Yunar locked in. According to a couple of sources that I use, Zaya does have a higher win rate against the Yunara, so maybe they were trying to counterpick the Yunara because they saw that she was already locked in and picked.
Yeah, it is short range, and that's the main thing that gate keeps Zaya as a champion, is that if she gets outranged, she's basically useless, and that feels really bad. And luckily, the side of Monkeys Inc. do have a really short range composition, especially with the Yunara locked in, and how averse Fallen Warrior is to playing any sort of range champions in the bot lane. Though Veigar going to be the lock in from the Monkeys. Definitely going to prove a little bit difficult for the Rel, especially and the Ambessa, as soon as the public execution is used. So once that goes, there's no way out of it for either of these two champs.
And do remind me, Mbessa during her ult is unstoppable, correct?
She is.
She is? Okay. I couldn't remember off the top of my head because that is a good way to get around Veigar's baby cage, is to just use the public execution, the unstoppable from your ult, and just dash through it.
It does have to hit, though, is the issue. Especially ever since it was it's move speed's the champion, but the cast time and the projectile speed was reduced a few patches ago. It's not as easily reliable to be able to just throw that out at anybody and be able to use it like that. So I'm not exactly super big on that. That being said, the response from Faye continuing on, going to be the Brand and the Victor. Odd two choices. That will be the Ambessa in the Brand in the jungle?
That might be a Brand jungle.
I mean, Hoikage's a fan of these unconventional junglers. Having played a little bit of the Twitch and Quinn in the jungle in solo queue. So, I mean, yeah, definitely a connoisseur of interesting jungle picks, but this is not exactly one that I've spotted in their wheelhouse. And as a response, Hunter's going to be picking up the Camille in the top lane to be able to go into LeBouf. And we'll be able to hopefully start the snowball from there on that front, having saved the counter pick for Hunter, who is such a menace on carries. If he can like garner himself a lead, this guy is absolutely incredible. Boom, we're pressing forward. Going to be hit by the pillar of Hoikage, still moving forward. Death Sentence hits the mark. Wow, it's just a bit too far away. Yeah, that's definitely the right choice. That's the smart play. Lotto was too far away. Wilm, Goob, not seen either.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm just saying that he didn't follow up on it. Wasn't meaning that it was a good or a bad play.
yeah, that's. Will be the option nonetheless does potentially slow things down a little bit from fifth at the very least. That being said, considering Galado was a part of that invade, only showing up now to his jungle camps, starting on those chickens, will be a little bit delayed on his clear as well. So it's about even. Luckily, the vision did go down from the side of the monkey, so they will be able to get an exact timer on when exactly Hoikage will be moving away from his camps, and you'll be able to track him a lot easier on the side of monkeys. We've got the graphics mixed up once again. It is monkeys on the blue side, Fit on the red. Sentence from Fallen Warrior, going to hit the mark onto him, forces the barrier down, crash down, not quite going to hit Grim Defier nor Fallen Warrior. Shattering Strike gets the stun onto Grim, but Goob going to have to flash away, drops a heal as well. So no defensive summoner spells in the hands of Fizz bot lane. and only the flash for Wilm is available. Goob in trouble. Handful of auto attacks. Perhaps only 2 would have been enough to claim the kill, but does have the safety of the tower. The Boof going to hit level 4 first over Hunter. Himself a little advantage, but our attention will primarily be on the bot lane with how low the health bar is of Goob. So at some point, I don't know if Raven, you can have a little quick fix on the sides that are being shown. Ideally, we'll have that fixed in the near future. Haven't had any word on the ETA on that front, unfortunately, so get back to you when we hear anything on that front, or if it just switches, and you know, Raven works his magic. But until then, do keep that in mind. So, while though that extra advantage has. Down now, going to be dropped from Goob. Shattering Sight hits. Grim Defier does have the Lantern. Death Sentence going to go on to Oikage, who on the gank, not quite going to find the mark, but that's really deep from Galata. Ishtal's impact can't quite turn fast enough. First Blood goes over to Faye. Flash also going to be used from the crash down, but we turn our attention back over to the mid lane. Unfortunately, in camera work,
unwavering judgment.
Not quite going to go through. Not quite going to be in a bit of a odd show, but Hoikage once again going to go straight to the bot lane. Once into the double stun from Goob on the Shattering Strike, and kind of baits Fallen Warrior and Grim Defier for staying a bit too long. We'll have to back off. We'll have to recall with the Drake spawning right now. It will gift the first objective over to the side of Faye. Impact drops into the mid lane. Galata will find the pull onto Mickey, but a good use of the gravity well. We'll get the double stun, saving Mickey. We did have to flash. Here we might have lost course. I'm going to operate under the assumption.
No, I'm trying to handle things behind the scenes. Sorry.
Don't type in chat. On cast, typically that's not like, unless there's a really big window that like you can guarantee. Like, I just looked over.
Well, that wasn't what I was talking about, but okay, I won't.
That's typically anyway. We'll get over to that. Glada going to use the Ishal Impact, find a way, and will land short just of Wilm. Slow going to find his way onto Goob. Flash came back up with a follow-up hook from Fallen. We're going to the mark, and the Impale going to secure a 2 kills, a double kill over to Grim Defier. to give the monkeys a 1k gold lead. Oh. I think we did actually lose 4. I heard a disconnect. Unfortunate. I'll try to pick up where we were. Glada initial is impact. Going to find out Hoikage and the Hextech ultimatum a little bit excessive from Hunter. We'll be able to secure a 3rd kill over to the side of the monkeys. And we'll secure them the grubs as well. Going to be able to clear out the towers a little bit faster, especially when you want to be looking for an aggressive side lane with Hunter on the Ignite. Mickey now going to be hit by the death sentence of Fallen Warrior. No flash on the Victor. Going to, in fact, make that hook a death sentence, but the follow-up from Goob on the flank, just a support, can't really do all too much. It is spotted out in the end. Hoikage on the opposite side of the map. So not going to be all that effective of a flank unless, of course, the monkeys stick around too long. Baby Cage will get the stun onto Hoikage. Just kind of walked right into that. But still staying around, won't quite hit the fireball stun, which will be enough to keep Wheeze alive. And, of course, out that recall will get the teleport, will give an equalization of that teleports in the mid lane to even things out between the two. But monkeys now find themselves 2k gold up with the next Drake spawning in a minute and a half. Crash down used from Goob, knowing that it's a 2v1. Grim to Fire at arm's length did have to transcend oneself to be able to get the move speed and a dash away. They continue their waves forward as Fallen Warrior arrives, not knowing that Hoikage is going to pop the Pyroclasm, get the passive proc onto both Grim to Fire and Fallen Warrior. Shutdown gets into the hands of Hoikage as a response from Fib. But oh wow, Wheeze off screen going to be picking up their 3rd kill of the game. 3-0-0 on the Veigar, scaling up rapidly. Already has the Rod of Ages and a tier before the recall. 1k gold up over Mickey. Doing incredibly well in this matchup so far this series. And kind of showing that Mickey is a bit more adept on these more short-ranged picks that are aggressive, that what to go in, and opting for the Victor is a very big change up from what we saw so far in the series, and it has not worked out for them so far. Hoikage going to be a little bit disappointed that that recall was not canceled. Definitely got the damage on. I saw the tick come through, but it was just a little bit too late. I think, oh gosh, what's the, it's like a quarter of a second, like there's a grace period for the recall to be able to go through without getting canceled, but don't quote me on that. I know it's a fairly small number, but it was just barely within that range, so they won't quite work that out yet. Drake now spawning up, though. Mickey is back, and they will find out Wheeze separated from the rest of the team, trying to pinch in. Though the tick from the ultimate will secure the kill. Shutdown gets into the hands of Mickey. A very big one at that. Very timely with Drake up and available. It will be the 2nd of the game going over to Faye, unless Glada can find a steal away. Fallen Warrior pressing forward, will get stunned up. Crash down going to extend the CC, but there isn't a ton of damage to be able to follow up. Grim Fire now transcending oneself. Won't quite get the slow onto Goob. Won't matter. Grim Fire going to even out the kills in this fight 1-for-1, but LeBouf has roamed down. Meanwhile, Hunter's still up in the top lane without the quest completed just yet. It will be a 3v4 for the side of Monkeys. Grim Fire on the wrong side of the map, but will back away. Public execution going to have to be flashed away by Grim Fire. Glada's Impale will find 3, but won't save him. Flash forward from LeBouf, closes the distance, sets up a double kill for Wilm. And so Fifth fights back, but won't opt to pick up the Drake instantly. Interestingly enough, they're going to teleport back, and I think we've gotten Core back. I think.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Oh, this is a fill, and just had a, not sure exactly, was it like a disconnect or?
My net went down for a second.
Happens. Happens to me, unfortunately, way more often than it should. But as a fill-in, Fit did win the last fight around the Drake, but did not opt to take it, fearing that it was a bit too extended. But before it gets to that, Glada waiting in the wings. It will have been spotted out on that ward. Hoikage will eventually arrive down, but is not expecting the hook from the bush. Not quite enough follow-up just yet. Shattering Strike finds a stun onto both Grim Fire and Fallen Warrior, who gets taken down by Hoikage, but Wheeze on the flank, arriving through the river. Might have been a mouthful on that one.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
Baby Cage. Yeah. Goob going to be completely locked out of the fight. Nowhere to go. Baby Cage hitting the mark. Wheeze getting the kill onto the support of Fit, and so the Monkeys turn onto the Drake for the third time in like the last 3 minutes. But Hoikage is still alive. Pyroclasm not quite available just yet. Wheeze will eventually get in range of Glada. Hoikage thinks about it, thinks better of it, tries to go back in, now gets stunned by the Baby Cage. Why did he go back in? This is
good. Your guess is as good as mine.
That is, I am bewildered by the decision from Hoikage. I can understand maybe to wait around, maybe see Wheeze trying to escape and catching him unawares, but to go back in after the Drake had already gone is such an odd choice. It makes a bad play worse and sets up the Rift Herald for Monkeys.
Overall, it does look like they're pretty neck and neck, and gold with Monkeys only having a small 800 gold lead.
Will likely expand a bit more as that top lane tier 1 is not looking all that healthy. LeBouf going to be locked in the Hextech ultimatum with nowhere to go. Wrong side of the map for LeBouf, nowhere to go. Death sentence will seal the fate of the Ambessa. All the while in the mid lane, Wheeze in trouble. Mickey going to find a solo kill onto Wheeze. Actually went over to Hoikage, so actually a 1-for-1 trade. Just off screen. Grim Fire, find out it's 1v2. But so despite what we saw, Wheeze actually do an incredible job to turn the 2v1 into a 1-for-1. A bit interesting to see though that Glada did not opt to drop the Rift Herald up in the top lane. Grim Fire pressing forward will force the Feather Storm out of Wilm, who also has to flash away, but snared up under the tower. Wilm picks up their third of the game.
Looks like bot lane is going to take their reset after that. Fallen trying to go in for the recall delay on the Rel.
Yeah, I'm gonna slow that down a little bit, but I mean the main thing, I I would say is the fact that Wilm picks up the third. They also pick up the Flicker Blades as well. A great
which is a huge
item.
power spike on Zaya.
Yeah. I mean, the ability to just rotate in your abilities that much quicker is... It's so impactful on Zaya, and especially, but like also the likes of Sivir as well. And it has its niche, which it fills perfectly for those two champs, especially, and which, you know, getting your hands on that item before Grim Defier can pick up, I'm going to assume is probably the Fiend Hunter bolts, will give a window potentially for Fid to capitalize on. She might. Well, unrelated window we'll try to find in the top lane, but Glada also moving up. Goob going to use a crash down to escape. Glada doesn't look like they want to give this one up just yet. Ishtal Impact's going to find its way onto Goob, going to call a teleport away from Mickey, and so Hunter and Glada are going to try to hightail it on out of there as quickly as possible. It will create the distance they need to escape. Now on the wings, Fallen Warrior, unfortunately, took the blast cone over to try to close the gap into the top lane, but as a result, kind of just skips past Hoikage. Going to get the fireball stun onto Glada, but it definitely looked really dangerous for the brand, especially when you've got so many members of the monkeys closing in on your position. It keeps a cool head despite how fiery his champ is.
Definitely looked a little shaky for him there, but he did, as you said, manage to get that stun off, managed to get himself out. He is just standing there. He was just standing there. Was he looking to try? He does try get that
Blue buff back.
No, he didn't get the blue buff.
No, he did not. What was the attempt? But the attempt now from the side of Fit is to find the play onto Glada, who then flashes away. Fallen Warrior now within the targets of Fit. Death Sentence, though, going to prevent Goob from escaping. The Fit have gone a bit too deep, and the follow-up from the monkeys, the collapse, sees Fit completely removed from the map right on the 20-minute mark as well. They won't turn their eyes towards the Baron. Instead, they'll look for the Drake with how low their health bars are, but it's a 4-0 in favor of Ink.
Looks like monkeys did pull into the lead. Looks like, once again, it might be the monkeys' game to lose. They are almost double the kills up and have a 5k gold lead over Fih. Looks like it's monkeys' game to lose right now.
Especially when you've got Wheeze with his scaling items fully completed, Roa fully stacked, Seraph's Embrace completed, and not far away from the death cap as well. With 260 stacks with that phenomenal evil power, Wheeze will only become more and more dangerous as this game goes on. Luckily, Fid do also have a decent amount of scaling for themselves. But might be a bit difficult for them to use it, especially when looking at Hoikage. It's relatively short ranged. I mean, at the very least, if Mickey can get into this game, they might have the range to be able to keep Grim Defier and Wheeze at arm's length, but that'll be a while yet. They might not have it. Death Sentence from Fallen Warrior removes Hokage before Feh have an answer. The Primordial Burst going to get the kill onto Goob as well. Hunter going really deep, trying to find Wilm. Will get the Zaya really low, not quite enough to be able to secure the kill. And as it is the Kim Tech map, will be able to use the enhanced Honey Fruit to be able to heal back up, but without a smite, without a jungler, Monkeys look to start up the Baron. Actually, try to bait in Fit a little bit further. They've got the vision to try to find a way through. Fallen Warrior pressing forward. Flash play hits the mark onto LeBouf, and stuck in the Hextech ultimatum will add to Monkey's dominance. Grim Defier, the one claiming the kill in the hands of Monkeys. They won't quite look to turn on to the Baron just yet, as in all that time Hoikage has respawned, but they give themselves a further 2k gold lead.
And as you said, Fid does have some scalers themselves, but with Rel being the only real front line that they have, the sheer burst from Veigar as he stacks.
Stepping up. You mentioned it will have to be the victor to hopefully turn it around for Fid, but Hoikage, sorry to cut you off there, but sometimes players do things like step up 1v3 to try to hopefully find a big pyroclasm, and well, luckily Monkeys aren't quite fully turning onto the Baron just yet, but I do think that without the jungler, it could have very easily been LeBouf. Finds the public execution onto Hunter, doing his best to try to prevent the bot lane tier 1 from going down, but that's only a bot lane tier 1, and as the rest of Monkeys collapse on to LeBouf, you gotta wonder, why are we committing so much to save just the bot lane tier 1? Hook shot stun, not quite going to hit the mark, won't matter. Galata going to claim the kill to the Monkeys. The rest of Fit are going to try to find a response. Wilm and Goob going to come through, crash down into the Magnet Storm, going to delay a little bit longer, but Hunter finds a good stun onto Mickey on the hook shot, and so it's an incredible baby cage, but enough damage on the recall from the Feathers. W from Wheeze going to completely chunk out Fid, who are taking extremely low. Grim Defier going to clean up the fight over to Will, making it a 4-4-2 in favor for the Monkeys. A bit hectic, a bit disjointed, but the Monkeys thrive in the chaos at a perfect time too, with the Drake spawning.
And that is going to be sole point for the Monkeys. They did clean up Viv very well in order to be able to secure that for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of the 7k gold lead they have, really just might be a wallet gap once again, especially as you mentioned, with Goob being the only front line of Feh.
With Goob being the only front line, and with Veigar scaling as hard as Veigar does with his passive, and the rest of them being fairly squishy, Veigar himself paired with the CC from the others, you know, the death sentence being able to pull him into the baby cage, the Flay being able to knock him into the cage, he's just going to be able to pop anyone who gets caught.
Yeah, and even when they don't get caught, we saw some of the use of the dark matter. I mean, when they hit the mark onto these squishy champions, I think the one that landed perfectly onto both Hoikage and Wilm chunked both of them out for half their health with just one ability. Before we get to that, crash down from Goob going to go in. Magnet Storm going to lock down these three members of Monkeys. Wilm waiting in the wings, chunking out Gladys slowly but surely. Shutdown gets into the hand of the Zyre. The ignite from Hoikage will secure a second and a third now. Going over to Fid, right in front of the Baron. Signs of life for Fid. They find the opportunistic play, they commit to it, and they are rewarded. is a bit an odd time for monkeys to be able to for them to like step up the way that they did. I know they're really tanky, at least the members that were caught out like that, but when they have both Wheeze and Grim Defier both in the mid and bot lanes way like that, just the one that you have to move away from. Yeah.
It was just they were too split up for them to be able to step up like that.
Yep, and so with that, they reduced their gold deficit to 4K, down about 3,000 from where it was earlier. And with the Baron in their hands, you can definitely slow down the game a bit more, which when you have a Veigar on the enemy team, not exactly the most ideal situation, but considering they need time for Mickey to be able to come fully online, get his third item, and be able to play at range away from the likes of Hunter, away from the likes of Wheeze, be able to keep them at a point where these short range champs can't do anything. They do need that time for Mickey to be able to, excuse me, get his items online to be able to become a true carry threat that monkeys can't quite handle. Sentence now not quite going to hit Hoikage. It's a good step forward, but that buys time. Glad to try to find an Ishtal impact in. Won't quite hit the jungler of Fit, but they are continuing to press forward on the side of monkeys. Glada chunk down to half HP. Oh my gosh, the Primordial Burst does so much to Hoikage. Doesn't quite find the kill. Hunter in the 1v1 will kill LaBouffe. But more importantly, Goob going to get stunned up by the Event Horizon. Not quite enough damage from Grim Defier to be able to kill off the rail, but chunks out Goob completely, who doesn't immediately run back to the fountain to be able to heal up. Luckily, Baron in the inventory of Viv will be able to use the Empowered Recall to get back a bit quicker. But yeah, the damage from Wheeze
is just
so insane. Yeah. Hoikage.
He is up to 380 stacks of his passive. That is almost like another Rabadon's in and of itself. I think it is, if I remember how much.
Hoikage. Oh my god. Oh my, it's disgusting. It's
the zoom in on the brand death. That was diabolical.
Yeah, it's just That is a 4 item Wheeze at level 17 with 400 stacks of phenomenal evil power. All you need is 1 W onto the head of Hoikage. It gets bonked, and no amount of CTE protocol will save you from that. Goob. I mean, that is one dark matter dropping on the head of Goob. Chunks and down to half health on the rail, the tankiest member of Fit. Grim Defier finishes off the kill. LaBouffe trying to find a flank onto Wheeze, but Grim Defier left alone to press forward. Will eventually get shut down by Mickey, but not without losing the rest of the team in the process. A 3-for-1 going the way of monkeys. Hoikage will proc the Pyroclasm, but the rest of the monkeys split out fast enough. Flash will get the flash response out of Fallen Warrior, but a very opportunistic moment from Hoikage. If the fireball does land, would have certainly killed the Thresh. Continued push from Monkeys Inc. Still ongoing. Hoikage not quite killed off just yet. That is only 3 members of Monkeys on the siege. One of namely which is Wheeze. That makes it very difficult for Fit to answer to. Mickey now going to come back. Wheeze intro public execution hits the mark. Shutdown gets into the hands of LaBouffe. And without their main source of damage, the 3 members of Monkeys hanging around in the bot lane monkey around a bit too much. Fallen Warrior will use the Empowered Blast Cone to escape. Lock into the Iron Solari will give himself a shield to prevent the Ignite from fully ticking over to get the kill. The damage had been done already. Importantly, they get the kill onto Wheeze. Giving an injection of over 1k gold into the hands of LaBouffe. I mean, they get the shutdown. It would have been perhaps a bit in the hectic nature of the fight. It's not necessarily too surprising before we get to that. Death Sentence hits its way onto Hoikage. Not much of a follow-up from the rest of the monkeys. Baron back on the map through all that time. Mid inhibitor from Fit is down. The bot lane inhibitor is open as well, which will force a response should monkeys go for it. But LaBouffe in the bot lane does have access to the teleport. Pyroclasm drops onto Wheeze, forces the Zhonya's Hourglass use, but a good look over the wall from Glada, and Hunter kills the jungler of Fae. And without smite available, monkeys turn on to the Drake. The Drake? The Baron.
The Baron.
Yes, the Baron. That was a self-correction. My bad.
No, you're fine.
While at the very least, the Boof wasn't even going to look to try to find that fight. Pushes onto the bot lane tier 2 of the monkeys. Picks up an objective bounty to give some gold back over to Faye, but Hunter more than enough to answer push from LaBouffe. Will still get the trade of kills. Still gets the Baron. And with the base in tatters for Fib, with Fib being down 5,500 gold, with Fizz backs up against the wall, we'll need a miracle to be able to come back into this fight. It's good death sentence finding its way onto Oikage. Ishtal's impact will slam him into the wall and stun him up, securing the kill for Glada and monkeys, pushing the advantage into the favor once more to Ink. Yeah, unfortunately don't quite have much of a wave just yet, but without any of the without Hoikage still alive, that does open up the bot lane to be taken by Hunter. Is going to turn their attention onto the Camille. Won't quite find the stun needed, but with so many members nearby, it will very comfortably get the kill over. But the Impale from Glada finds its way onto 3, and as soon as that does, as soon as Glada brings the members into the hands of Monkeys Inc., it ends as quickly as soon as it starts. Monkeys Inc., they had a few hiccups along the way, but in the end, they were in control. There was no real doubt that they would be losing this game 3. There was no doubts that the monkeys would come out on top. And so, Monkeys Inc. live up to the expectations over a relatively unknown team. It took them 3 games, 1 game more than perhaps at least I expected coming into this one with how unknown Fit is and how storied this Monkeys roster is. But they get it done in the end. And it took them, well, in their wins at the very least, they looked really comfortable in the process. Mm-hmm. Being said, if there is any takeaway from how, at the very least for them, when they were given their champions in this series, they they stepped up to the plate and were able to uh, convincingly win against a team that is as highly touted as this Monkeys Inc. team is. Though going forward into the year, so they clearly have the skills about them. They just perhaps need to expand their champion pools a bit more, and if they can get comfortable on a variety of champions, this Fihao team, despite their 0-2 starts, could potentially cause some damage later down the line. But it's only a glimpse that they got from us here in week 2 at what might come from Fi. But congratulations to Monkey Inc. on their victory. And congratulations for them for starting off 2-0 now. But that'd be it from this